What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Chatting in the City podcast. Been away for 3 weeks now? But we're back, and today you guys are in for a treat. Chatting has gone international. We out here doing big things. I'm here with a special guest coming live and direct from Manchester, I assume. James, how you doing, brother?
Sir, I'm very well, thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
No, it's my pleasure, dude. So I guess to give a little bit of context about how this happened, I don't think you know a bunch of this stuff, but I'll tell you and the people as well. So I'll take us back. In high school, for some reason, I've always felt like a piece of my heart always belonged in the UK or just England, maybe. I grew up playing soccer, so that might be part of it, watching the EPL and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I also listened to a lot of like UK artists in high school. So I ran into Jacob Banks' stuff on YouTube. People like, I don't know, Bluey Robinson, JP Cooper, Leon Lavis, all those like big artists in the UK. And then, so, I was obviously listening to their stuff. And then you fast forward, I don't know, 5 years or whatever. And I'm on the gram, right? I follow Jacob Banks, and he posted one of your early episodes of your podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what's this, right? I click on it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is funny. So I go to the YouTube and I start watching, I comment every now and then. And it was the strangest thing to me was realizing how much I could see myself reflected in you guys, right? Obviously, we live in different countries. We've had different upbringings, different cultures and all that. But the fascinating thing was to see how we've sort of been consuming the same popular culture and how we connect at that level. And it was what I was thinking, like, if I met these guys, I'd be like, oh, we could be boys. Obviously, they're older than me or whatever, but it's like I consider there was that connection there. And then I reached out to you, and you're graceful enough to actually come and do this. So thanks again.
No worries, man. Thank you for having me, bro. It's an honor. Like, this stuff is all new to me. I'm not used to people asking me for stuff. So I'm more than happy, man. Of course. Yeah.
All right. So I had some questions for you. One of the questions I had, I guess, relates to the whole popular culture thing and how we're all, the internet is crazy, right? We're all kind of consuming the same stuff, and the stuff that we consume sort of affects what we think about and what we talk about with our friends and what we do. So my question is about mental health in the context of the UK, right? It's a bit broad, but to make it more specific to you, do you feel like there's been a change in the willingness to talk about mental health and address issues relating to mental health within your friend groups now, as opposed to when you guys were back in university?
I would say probably yes. I think mainly, how do I explain it? I think, like in university is a lot about, I'm assuming this is globally, but in university is a lot about kind of like a lot of like finding your identity and trying to see where you fit. University is like the only place where you're technically considered an adult, especially here in the UK. In the UK, at 18, you're a fully fledged adult. There's pretty much nothing in the UK you can't do at 18. So you go to university, you don't know anyone, and even your boys, like the boys that I have now. So if you had Jacob, a few of our other friends, we're all best friends in university. But like, it's just, I don't know, it's just a level of bravado, and they're your boys, but you don't know that this is going to go on forever. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
We don't know where this is going to end up, and we don't know really what we mean to each other. We're just, you're there out of circumstance. You don't know if you're real friends or if you're just boys because there's no one else around and we don't know anyone and all this kind of stuff. So I would definitely say now is a lot more transparent with mental health and stuff like that, how we're feeling at the minute. But I think a big part of that is also, for one, a lot more life experience, and we've seen each other. There's a point where you see people go through certain circumstances in their life, and if that person has the balls to tell you that they're fine, then you know that they're not really your friend. And it gets to a point where there's certain things that can happen to someone. So in our group of friends, obviously there's a lot of, we've known each other for about 12, going on 12 years now. We've all been best friends for about, my group of friends, there's 5 of us. We've all been best friends for about 12 years. So the stuff that we've all gone through, that if you've got the balls to say that you're just fine and just brush it off, then it's like, okay, cool. We're not that close, because I know that's not the truth. And actually, strangely enough, I think the podcast has been like a big difference in that as well for me and Fuhad within our friendship group, because there's just, I don't know, there's just stuff that we're just a lot freer now to talk about.
Right.
And it just kind of opens the doors for conversation. You can pick up, because we say so much and people listen to it. You can just kind of start a conversation. Like a lot of our friends will just message us and be like, oh, you know, when you guys were talking about X, Y, and Z on last week's episode, they'd be like, yeah. They'd be like, oh, cool. Like, that reminds me of this thing that's happened to me right now, and it's actually kind of fucked. And then you just delve right in there. You don't feel like you're having to confide in someone. You don't feel like you're having to be vulnerable with someone, because it feels like, oh, we were already talking about this and it fits right in. And you don't have to just you don't feel like you're kind of killing the mood or killing the vibe or being weak or whatever it is you want to call it. But yeah, I definitely think at the minute, the whole conversation, the whole dynamic has changed within, like, specifically my social group, in terms of like speaking about your mental health and how you're doing and stuff like that. I think it's definitely more encouraged than when we were younger, for sure.
Right. I guess, like, I completely agree with the fact that, you know, if somebody can't come, let's say, you know, talk to you about whatever's going on in their life and they just tell you that they're okay, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, so I guess we're not really that close. I kind of related to the fact that if I don't feel comfortable making fun of you, then, like, yeah, we're not really that close. And if you don't feel comfortable making fun of me as well, it's kind of like that, you know, it's, I guess people can say it's toxic, right? Guys, you know, they make fun of each other to show affection. It's backwards. It doesn't make any sense. But it's like, I think, you know, those are at the same level. And you said that doing the pod has kind of helped people, not just, you know, I guess your group of friends, kind of like has given him almost like a jump off point to discuss certain things, right? So you talk about something on the pod, you're like, hey, you know, whatever, me and my friends are going through this, whatever. And your friends are like, oh yeah, man, you guys were talking about that, you know, same things happened to me or whatever. You don't feel the need to actually like try to draw the thing out of them. They almost like they're willing to just tell you right away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 100%.
Wow. Okay. And on the pod, you've mentioned several times about your social anxiety. And I was curious, how has that affected your day-to-day life? Because, you know, I have friends who also have social anxiety, and they're kind of like talking to them and sort of figuring out what it is that they go through on on a day-to-day basis. It's wild, bro. It's really wild. I mean, I don't have it, but just knowing that the fact of like that arousal, having that, like, just, I hate that feeling. Like neuroadrenaline pumping through your body. It's one of the worst things you can have when you're not, you know, trying to whatever fight or flight or whatever. So I'm curious, how has that affected your day-to-day life?
I mean, these days it doesn't affect me too badly. There's been times in my life where it would affect me to a degree that you're probably not aware of. So it's different. No, it's not different, but it's like there's a weird culture in the UK, especially, that is like, it's social anxiety, but it's like, so we have a terminology over here called beg friend, right? And no one wants to be a beg friend. So a beg friend is basically someone where you're, you may have heard me and Fred talk about it before, but we talk about it sometimes. Is that a beg friend in the UK means that you're someone who doesn't have any friends, for example. And so it primarily, like, for example, the time where I actually met Fuhad, right? It was him and another one of our friends talking. I had no one, like, first day at university, I had no one to speak to. But there's I don't know, it's a weird culture here in the UK where it's not cool for me to go and talk to them. It's not cool for me to just go up and be like, oh, hey guys, I'm James. Like, I don't really know anyone here. Like, what's going on, kind of thing. It's just not cool to do that. That's what we call a beg friend. So someone could turn around and be like, oh shit, this guy is lonely and he's begging friend with us. And you don't want to be that guy. So there's always this weird caveat, or at least when I was younger, of like, I don't want to be a beg friend. I don't want to be a beg friend. And I seemed to hold it closer to my chest than other people. So obviously, me and all my friendships, my school friends, we all went to university at the same time.
Right.
I was the only one that went to my university. All my other friends from school separated to all different universities. And we all had this thing like, oh, I'm not begging friend. I'm not going to be a beg friend. I'm not going to be a beg. However, they all seem to make friends real quick. Whereas I kind of was like, every time they tell me like, oh, I met this group of people in like my dorms and stuff like that, we're going to go out tonight, etc. I used to think, these fucking guys, man, they're all beg friends. Like, I can't do that. When really, I didn't realize it's like, the reason I'm not doing it is because I have social anxiety. I'm just telling myself that I'm not being a beg friend. I'm just telling myself that I'm prideful when really I'm extremely socially anxious and I struggle too much to talk to people that I don't know.
Right.
So that was like a weird thing growing up, is that I didn't think it affected me very much because I just went under the caveat that I'm not a beg friend, and that's just who I am. Like this is the culture that we grow up on, and I just follow that culture.
Right.
Whereas the reality is like I'm too anxious to talk to people. Like I don't know how this is gonna go.
Right. And the reality of being a beg friend perpetuated, of not trying to be a beg friend, sort of like perpetuated your social anxiety, right? 'Cause it's a cycle,
100%.
just keeps going.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So it's like, yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh, cool. Like I'm not gonna be a beg friend when really the reason I don't want to be a beg friend is because I'm socially anxious. But the fact that if I talk to someone, they might think I'm a beg friend is making me more socially anxious. So yeah, like exactly like you said, it's a vicious cycle, vicious cycle. So just the first ever day that I spoke to Fuhad and our other friend Aaron was just like my heart was racing because I was thinking, dude, I don't know where this is gonna go. Like I don't even know if I say hi to these guys, they're just gonna turn around and be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Right.
Like today's not the day. Like you're embarrassing yourself. So there was a lot of that. It used to affect me a lot. Like when I first started university, um, just even stuff like I remember the social interactions. Again, we had a flatmate on my very first night there. I didn't know anyone. She introduced herself. I was obviously happy to speak to her, and then she said, "Oh, I'm gonna go out. Like there's this massive, like bar crawl. So everyone's gonna go from bar to bar to bar to bar to bar to bar tonight. Obviously, it's like to get to know each other. Are you gonna come? Like me and you, we can go together." And just the concept of going and meeting people at every bar with a girl that I don't even know, I was just like, oh hell no, I'm not doing
Right.
that. There's just no way I'm not doing that. So I ended up staying um in my flat, my apartment by myself, just in my dorm, just by myself, watching TV, just lonely. I can hear all the fucking trumpets and drums, everyone
Right.
screaming, everyone have a good time. I was just like, bro, this is tough, man. So it used to affect me a lot. Back when I was younger, it used to affect me so badly, especially in like new situations. But these days, it's not too bad.
Right.
I think as well, like these days, the the podcast definitely helps because people feel like they know me.
Right.
So I don't really have to be the one to introduce myself as much.
No beg
Most
friend.
people, yeah, exactly. I don't have to be the big friend.
Yeah.
Now they're the big friend, and they have to come and chat to me. So it's just like it's a lot of stuff. But even till now, it gets me. Like at the minute, me and Fuhad are dealing with a lot of kind of like sponsorship stuff and like collaborations with a lot of other creators and stuff like that. And just even sending over an email or a DM to someone who hasn't approached us first, I'm just like, nah, I can't do it. 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 It's just, yeah, I have to get over it. But it's something that does affect me like in very rare, those are rare situations. So it's not something that I think about day to day. But even to a point where I'm just like, oh, for crying out loud. I think it's something that I shouldn't have to think about. Whereas, like, for example, Fuad doesn't think about it, he just does it. And I'm just like, damn, I wish I could do that, bro. But I'm stuck there for like 10 minutes, just like, oh, do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? Like, we actually spoke to another podcast that's based near where we live. And we were just trying to sort out some dates. And I sent off the original message, like, oh, hey guys, what's up? We should sort something out, etc., etc. And they were like, yeah, cool, cool, cool. So everything's going well. And all it took was for them to say, oh, when can you do? And I said, oh, I can do this date. And they said, oh, we can't do that date. It was all it took was them to, oh, we can't do that date, for me to be like, I'm done here. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Let's get me out of this conversation. Like, this is just too awkward. Like, I don't want to deal with it. So yeah, little stuff like that, it does affect me, but it's just something, yeah, just something you learn to deal with, really, man. I don't really know I don't really have any coping mechanisms, really, to be fair. It's just something
Right.
I've dealt with all my life.
Do you think it stems from the fact that, like you said, it's maybe like the idea of rejection in the back of your mind? Like you said, when you reached out to that podcast and they said, hey, we can't do that day, you're like, oh, here comes the big no, it's coming, it's coming. Let's just, let me cut it off before we get there. And, I get hurt, essentially.
Yeah.
Do you think that's where it's coming from?
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. Like, I think that's probably the case. Like, we had I think, yeah, you're probably right, because that happened again, not with a sponsorship deal. Luckily, it came back around. So me and Fuhad are working with a sponsor. You'll see literally like next week who it is. But basically, we're working with there's another podcast that we follow, and we have a good kind of relationship with them, and they got sponsored by this company. So I reached out to them. I was like, this is like a company that I've wanted to work with for a long time. So I was like, oh, how did you guys like sort this out? And they said, oh, we emailed them. We just reached out, sent them our figures and stuff like that, and then they put us on the books for a trial, etc., etc. And now we work with them like on a year contract. And then they reached out to me and they said, oh, dude, like you guys are popping, so you just do it. Like just email them and it'll be fine. And because I hold this like company in such high regard, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. There is no way in hell I'm putting myself out there right now for them to tell me no, and I'm just like crushed. There's no way. Coincidentally, that company, this is like just random, but that company emailed us like last week, just sorted it out. So that took a lot of pressure off me. But just like that, just like you can get what you want, but the fear of rejection stops me literally anything. Like I would be the worst guy if I really wanted to like work in the corporate world. I would never get anywhere because I'm not the guy who's going to be asking for promotions, asking for raises. Like the fear of rejection for me is just like, it's intense. It's super intense. But like, I think at the time, I don't consider it a fear of rejection. It's only when like we're having this conversation right now where you ask me, oh, do you think it's the fear of rejection? That when I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe it is. At the time, it's just like you justify a million different reasons in your head why you wouldn't do it. And none of them are, I'm too scared to get rejected. You never tell yourself that. You always tell yourself it's a grown man, real, like, and that's why like it all stems back to like that beg friend thing that worked so well for me growing up. That's just like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Like the way I feel, the reason I feel like this is because I'm a man. Like to be a big friend in the UK is to be weak, and I don't beg friend with anyone, so I'm a man, so it's cool. It's only when you become a man that you realize like, shit, that's not what it was at all, bro. It turns out you're a pussy. But it's all good.
You were talking about the beg friend thing, and like, you know, feeling anxious to talk to Fuhad and Aaron the first time you guys were, you know, met. I mean, I can imagine how like I've said this before. Fuhad's laugh is actually no, Jacob said it. His laugh is it's just I don't know what it is. Like if he's laughing at you, you will want to crawl and just cry.
Bro, it's tough. It's intimidating. It's an aggressive laugh, bro. It's intimidating, man. You don't want it. You definitely don't want it. It's tough.
That's mad. And you know, you mentioned briefly about the whole thing about, you know, being a beg friend and how it relates to being weak, right? And obviously yourself being a black male, weak stuff. It's all like, you know, that's a whole other discussion we could have, but we don't have the time for it. Something else I wanted to ask you about was body image in men, right? So a little bit that I know about you, you used to, you know, play a bunch of sports. You played ball, you boxed, and you did, you know, a little bit of bodybuilding and personal training, right?
Yeah.
So recently, gyms have been closed down for you guys. You haven't been able to go to the gym and do any of that. I'm curious, how has that affected your body image and how you see yourself and your self-esteem? Because for a lot of people, like this period has like really put a mirror up to their face. It's like, oh, like the gym is actually really important to, you know, how I feel and how I see myself, my self-esteem, and therefore my well-being, right? And on one of the episodes, you were talking about how you made food one day, right? And you had a plate and you sat down, put it on your lap, and then your stomach pushed it just a little bit, bro. I was crying laughing because that's so relatable. It's so relatable to everyone right now, right?
Dude, that was horrific. That was horrific. But yeah, I mean, it's, to be fair, it's affected me like in a big way. It's been super tough. I think again, it's just like you come up with your own justifications that just get you through the day. Just like, for example, just like I'm not seeing anyone right now. I'm just going from point A to point B. Like I'm doing okay. But it's just like the little things that catch you out that really hit you the hardest. Like it's not like an everyday struggle where you look in yourself in the mirror. Because I look at myself in the mirror and it's not that bad, because I think mainly because what probably helps me is because I know I can get in shape, if that makes sense. It's not a point where I've been unhealthy or overweight for like a long time, and I've never really been in shape, and I've hit rock bottom, and then I'm just depressed. It's a case of like, I've been in shape my entire life, so this is just interesting to me. Like, I'm just ready. Like, when the gym's open, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's get to work. Like, this
It's
is
a
actually gonna be
challenge.
fun. It's a
Like, yeah,
challenge.
let's see how
This is
fast I
gonna
can
be
get
fun.
back in shape. 2 weeks,
Yeah,
let's do it.
yeah,
It's easy.
exactly. So that's kind of some stuff that helps me get through it. However, yeah, it's the little bits. It's the sitting down and the plate moves. It's the what else was it the other day? The pod as well. There was one episode I had one tight t-shirt on. This was a couple months ago, and there was just a little crease just here, man. And I was like, bro, what is going on, man? It's just seeing yourself in that perspective. You're like, dude, that's embarrassing, man. And like, yeah, it's little things like that. It's just mortifying. Like, you understand why dudes wear shirts in the pool now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's something that you just like, dude, like, to have to deal with this. If I had to deal with this every day, like, I don't know how I would cope. But I think it's definitely affected. It's not affected. It's definitely affected my confidence in myself. I would say that 100%. It's little things that I would never, ever, I've never in my entire life thought about. Like I said, like sitting down, how I end up thinking, if I'm in a group of people, I end up thinking how I look sat in this position.
Right.
Little stuff like that. I've never experienced that in my entire life. And yeah, that's tough. It is super tough. But I think gyms open here in about 3 weeks. So fingers crossed. Everything goes smoothly.
That's interesting because you said, in a little while back in one of the pods, you sat down and there was a crease. It's like, I didn't notice that. I don't think anybody really noticed that, but right? That's the big thing about it. Like,
that's the thing.
No,
that's the thing. Like, no one gives a shit. But I'm obsessing about it. Like, dude, there was one the other day. Have you seen like the no beard filter going around at the minute?
No, I haven't.
Dude, right. So there's this weird little trend that's going around where like I think it's on Snapchat. The filter's on Snapchat. So there's a filter on Snapchat that will show you what you look like without a beard.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's doing it, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's mad accurate! Like, it's mad accurate." And I'm like, "All right, cool, man. Let me give it a go, dude." I gave it a go. My cheeks were like out here. This thing's just CGI and my cheeks out here, and I'm like, "Bro, is that if I shave my beard tomorrow? Is that what it's gonna look like?" Because if it is, like, just kill me. So yeah, it's stuff like that. Like you said, like you didn't notice it. No one mentioned it, but I was obsessing about it. And yeah, it's a realm I'm not used to for sure. Like, it's tough. It's real tough. I couldn't imagine feeling like this just like for years at a time. And feeling like this to people feel like this to the point where they don't even want, like, I can't wait to go to the gym because I need it gone. Some people feel so self-conscious about it that they don't even want to go to the gym to sort it out.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, holy shit, that's like I can't imagine that.
Yeah, it's demoralizing, man. It's demoralizing. And it's interesting because, like, nobody wants to talk about like body image in men because it's like, oh, well, whatever, most of the advertising is targeted at women. It's forcing them to be skinny or be like a Kardashian or whatever.
Yeah,
but like, what do we talk about? No, nobody cares about what men are going through. Nobody really cares.
Bro, it's tough for men because, like, the thing is as well, that's the thing that because women are loud about it. Women are very loud about their insecurities. So men have to take the cues that they're given. So, like I said, women are very loud that they don't like the way women are portrayed in social media, and the Kardashians, they don't think as a avid representation of the female form, etc., etc. So men taking that information, they're very careful about what they say. Well, if you're a gentleman, if you're a prick, then that's it. But if you talk to a woman, it's not about like, oh, if you do, like, I don't know, men don't take the forefront to be like, oh my god, like, my type is tits, flat stomach, tiny waist, fat ass. Like, they're not going to say that in front of other women who don't look like that because they understand that that's going to be extremely triggering for someone. Whereas women, because men aren't loud about their insecurities like that, they don't take that in. So when they're seeing you put Dwayne Johnson on the screen, bro, they'll lose their shit. And they're just like, bro, look at his body. They don't give a fuck that their husband doesn't look like that. They don't care. It doesn't even register that they might be triggering their partner or just another man in the room by saying that's the most unattainable physique on planet Earth.
Right.
And I'm sat here, can't even work out, can't even get myself in a position where I can try and look like that, and I have to hear how like pumped you are just to see him on screen.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, man. It's tough. So stuff like that is yeah, look, you're right. It's no one gives a shit about how men feel about their bodies, because you need to literally man up. That's the term. Like if you start crying about what a woman says about another man, it's just like, bro, the next response out of their mouth is gonna be, bro, come on, man up. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't be a bitch.
It's wild. It's wild. Like you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna compare me or some other guy to Dwayne The Rock Johnson, right? Our gyms are closed, bro. I can't do nothing. He has his own gym.
Dude,
He has
he
a
has a
ranch. He's got a
huge
gym. Like,
gym
what do
in,
we?
bro. Yeah, it's tough, man. But it's tough. But yeah, like I said, the other way around, if you're sitting with your woman and then I don't even know who, Kendall's on screen, and you're like, bro, look at that stomach. Look how flat it is. You're gonna get a frying pan in your head. It's just like, how could you possibly be so insensitive to say that? When for example, when they all look like that from surgery, and then women can't look like that, they get upset because they think, bro, you can't speak like that in front of me. That's insensitive. But like I said, the other way around doesn't work. Doesn't
Yeah.
work. And
It
which
speaks
means,
to sorry to interrupt. It speaks to a lot of like what I've been thinking about in terms of like how body image is tied to vanity, right? And obviously how physical activity is, within that relationship as well. So sort of mediates the relationship. Like we all think about, I work out because I want to be healthy. I work out because I want, I want to, basically people want to say they work out because I want to be healthy. But there's also the flip side of that coin is, it's the vanity aspect, right? I want to look at
100%.
myself and sorry?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to look at myself and be like, oh yeah, look at that. I'm looking good. I'm looking good, whatever. And so when that gym thing is taken away, the thing that mediates it, you start looking and say like, oh my God, I don't look so good, right? And then you start spiraling down.
Yeah, bro. It's like, yeah, it's like I said, it's the little things and it's stuff like you don't realize how bad it is. Like I've never really been the guy that needs to get like beach fit. I've always been at like a reasonable level
Mhm.
of fitness that like if a vacation was around the corner, like I've never thought like, oh my God, I need to hit the gym. Like I'm going on holiday. Whereas now's the first time. Now's the first time where I'm planning holidays
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, I physically can't take my clothes off, bro. I physically can't do that to myself. So I'm starting thinking, shit. Now I understand what everyone goes through. Like it's literally all about vanity. The gym is 100% about vanity, which is good. Like that, it's good to feel good about yourself,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with that. It has like negative connotations, but yeah, everyone wants to be like, as much as the guy who wears just like the thin stringer in the gym, titties just about covered, as much hate as he gets, everyone would love to be in the position that guy's in.
Do that.
It's just the confidence. Like no one wants to be in the gym with like 2 layers on, a hoodie over the top. No
Right.
one wants to be that guy. But hey man, yeah, it's all about vanity. When you are the guy who can walk around like that, then you will be, trust me.
That's true. That's
You
true.
will
And I
you will
guess,
be.
yeah, like a lot of us react to that negatively because it's like, it makes you uncomfortable, right? It's like, I can't look like that and I can't do that. And he's doing it because he knows he can do that. And he knows I
Yes.
can't do that. So he's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right in my face. Like, oh man. Wow. All
Yeah,
right,
bro.
dude. Before we go, we started doing a little segment called the PSA, promote, share, and ask. So I'm gonna give you the floor to promote anything. Obviously, I'm sure you want to promote the pod, but go ahead.
Okay, cool, man. Sweet. Yes, I guess that's literally all I have to promote right now. My life is stuck in the mud. So yeah, Shits and Gigs podcast. New episodes every Monday. Yeah, man, it's here for a good time. Hopefully give out some laughs. So check it out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. So yeah, man, tune in and enjoy if you
All
can.
right. Yeah, guys, if you can, man, check it out. I mean, I left a comment on one of their videos telling that it's kind of like it's one of the positives that's been getting me up, through the year. It's funny. It's good
Thank you.
stories. James is a story man. He's a master storyteller. He doesn't like to admit it, but this guy, it actually like Fuhad, it doesn't make sense how you remember all these stories. It doesn't make sense to any of us, but somehow they come to you and you tell them, and we all laugh and we love it. So check him out. Like you said, I'll add all the links here. And if you got some money to spend, Patreon.
Patreon. Thank you very much.
Support the man's. For the share, I guess I'll share something. The last 2-3 weeks have been weird for me. So like there's been a lot of work, school stuff, assignments or whatever. But like I couldn't really sleep. Right, I was having trouble sleeping for a couple of weeks, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I think more recently, I think I know what it was. This past weekend, a friend of mine passed away. This past weekend marks 3 years since she passed, and I think it was part of that. And I couldn't really figure out what it was until I kind of was like, oh snap, it's actually their anniversary is coming up and whatever. And it kind of goes back to the whole like I like to think that within men we don't really have the tools to deal with the fact to even describe what it is that we're feeling. And so we end up kind of getting into these loops of stress and like not being able to sleep because you can't sleep. There's more stress and it keeps going. And like, it was just strange for me because it was like, I've never had trouble sleeping. Like I can sleep anywhere, but for this, like for the 2 weeks, I was just nothing. I would just lay in bed and stare at the ceiling and nothing would happen. But I figured it out. And, but yeah, man, thankfully, my sleep's got we're getting back on track. I had a nice little sleep last night, so I'm happy about that.
Dude, lack of sleep will literally kill you. Like it's an illness, dude. Like people don't take it seriously. Lack of sleep will kill you.
Insomnia is wild. I'm doing a course right now called Sleep and Dreams. Okay. We're kind of looking at basically like the neurobiology associated with sleep, what sleep means, different stages of sleep. So slow wave sleep and memory, REM sleep and all that stuff. And
fascinating, bro. Fascinating. Some of the statistics on sleep. Like I think it was which statistic did I hear, which was like on the when the clocks go forward and they go back. When you lose an hour, I think it's in the States. There was a study in the States when you lose the hour of sleep. I think there was on that very next day, heart attacks up by like 70%. Yeah, 70% more heart attacks on the day after you've just lost an hour of sleep in the US than the day before.
What I heard was that when was that when you lose an hour of sleep, the next day accidents go up by like more than
accidents 50%. As well. It's wild. Accidents as well. Like... road accidents for sure, dude. That's another statistic. Sleep is crazy. It's
a madness. The prof is always telling us like nobody sleeps enough. People are sleeping like 6 hours. We're supposed to get like 8. Even like 8 is at the low end. You're supposed to try to get 8, 9 or whatever.
Base level.
And so man, if you're out there, you're struggling with sleep, man, try to get that sorted because it's not a joke. It is not a joke. And for the ask, do you have anything to ask me?
Yeah, bro. What made you want to kind of use podcasts as a medium for this?
So I joined the lab that the podcast is for last March. So we're just over a year now, like a year and a week. And in the summer they wanted to do like a little project to kind of like because we have a bunch of like more like empirical stuff going on in the lab. They wanted to do something to kind of like engage the community, to talk about mental health, specifically to focus on youth. And the original project was to actually get people to some of the research assistants in the lab like myself into the community to talk to people about mental health, some of the effects, some of the behavior interventions, all that stuff that you can do, specifically the Black community. But then obviously Corona's around, right? So you can't really go out and talk to people. So I was like, hey, why don't we, turn it into a pod where we, bring on people from here and there, talk to them about their experience and stuff like that. So that's how it happened. And I think I suggested that because I used to do a pod a while back with a friend, but that got a little too wild. My boy almost got kicked out of med school. No lie.
Really?
It was wild. That's kind of why it happened. They wanted to do the initiative. It was still called Chatting in the City podcast. Well, Chatting in the City initiative.
Yeah.
But then I was like, hey, we can't actually go out into the community and talk to people. Why don't we just turn it into a podcast and bring on people from here and there, and they can talk about it and they can share it and stuff like that. So that's how it happened.
It's very cool, dude. That's very cool, man. I think podcasting is one of the most fascinating phenomenons I've ever experienced. It's one of the only times in someone's life where they are talking for the sake of talking.
Right.
And it's just therapeutic, and it's just your objective is just to speak. And there's no kind of distractions like any other time. You have like the best people. That's why people always say like the best conversations they've always had is when you're like stuck in a car with someone on like a long journey, because there's nothing else to do. And then when you take that and then you make it an objective to speak, bro, the stuff you get out of people is fascinating. And I think that's like when you said like, I don't know how you remember all these things. I only remember them in those specific scenarios, because my brain is in a position where it's like, I'm only here to speak. And for some reason, it just unlocks other parts I didn't even know I remembered.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love podcasting. I love it so much. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the intention, right?
Yeah.
If you're stuck with someone, you kind of have to make small talk. If you don't know them, just make small talk here and now, whatever. But if you're with someone that you know, and you feel like you have to get through whatever 3 hours, then like you said, the stories start coming to you because you're like, okay, well, we gotta make this, somewhat enjoyable, right? So the stories come to you, and then you laugh, and then 3 hours are done, just like that, just like 30 minutes are over, just like here.
Yeah, bro, 100%. It's cool, man. So yeah,
all right, man.
It's cool. All right,
That's it. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Guys, check out their pod. I'll link everything here, the Patreon, all that stuff. Yeah, go check them out. I love the pod. Whenever they come out, I listen. I just do on the Patreon because, gotta support the homies.
Thank you, bro.
And yeah, man. And for this podcast, I actually took 2 seconds out of my life to actually make sure I put it on top of podcast and Google, all that stuff. So
nice, dude.
Hop over there, give it a share, comment, whatever. Rate it. And if you don't rate it, let me know why. Hit my DMs. We can figure out what's going on with you. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, guys. See you next time.
Thank you, dude.